Teenagers can be difficult to deal with a lot of the time, but when they set their hearts on a task, they can be truly unstoppable. These young people have achieved incredible feats that most adults could only dream of, so join us as we have a look at 15 teenagers who have set incredible records and have made a name for themselves. Number 15. Jordan Romeo. In the world of climbing, Mount Everest is known as the ultimate challenge. At over 29,000 feet tall, it's the highest mountain on Earth, and climbing it is a feat that requires both physical and mental strength. However, in 2010, one teenager from California decided to take that challenge on, and he did it in style. Jordan Romeo was just 13 years old when he set out to climb Mount Everest. He had been climbing for several years and had already scaled several other peaks, but he had never attempted anything as daunting as Everest. However, despite his young age, he was determined to make it to the top. In May of 2010, Jordan and his team set out from base camp and began their ascent. The climb was not easy and they faced a lot of obstacles along the way, which included high altitude sickness, freezing temperatures, and treacherous ice. But despite the challenges, Jordan pushed on, and on May 22nd of 2010, he made it to the summit of Mount Everest. At the age of 13 years old, he had become the youngest person in history to ever climb Mount Everest. He had beaten the previous record that was held by Temba Shiri, a 16-year-old Sherpa from Nepal who had climbed the mountain in 2001. But Jordan's climbing achievements did not stop there. In 2011, at just 15 years old, he became the youngest climber to scale all of the 7 summits, which are the tallest mountains on each of the 7 continents. And to this day, Jordan remains the youngest person ever to climb Mount Everest. Number 14. Pamela Villarroel. Meet Pamela Villarroel, a teenage girl from Argentina, who made history by giving birth to the most children under the age of 18. It all began when she became pregnant for the first time at the age of 13, and at such a young age, many of us are still navigating our way through high school and figuring out what we want to do with our lives. However, for her life took a dramatic turn as she gave birth to a boy. Just 2 years later, the now 15-year-old girl was preparing to give birth again. However, this time she had triplets. Can you imagine being only 15 years old and having 4 babies to take care of? It's an overwhelming task for anyone, let alone a teenager, but Pamela's story does not end there. Just 2 years later, she was wheeled back into the delivery room and gave birth to 3 more babies. That's right, Pamela had 7 children before the age of 18. But how did this young girl from Argentina become a mother to so many children at such a young age? Well, unfortunately, the answer is not at all a happy one. Pamela's 3 different partners, the father of each child, have wanted nothing to do with any of their offspring or her. But she's not alone in raising her children. Her mother and grandmother have helped her through the journey of being a mother at a young age. Despite the challenges that she's faced, Pamela has proven to be a dedicated and loving mother to her 7 children. Pamela's story is a reminder that life can take unexpected turns and that we all have to be prepared to face whatever comes our way. Number 13. The Puzzle Sisters, Sarah, Hannah, and Leah. The story of the Puzzle Sisters is one of inspiration and determination. These young sisters from Tennessee had a dream to make it in the music industry, and they did just that. In 2010, at the ages of 14, 12, and 8, they won a Grammy for their song In the Highways. This made them the youngest winners of the most prestigious music award in the world. It's hard to believe that the sisters were completely unknown before winning the Grammy. In the Highways was used as the soundtrack for the film Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, starring George Clooney. This would help to put the sisters on the map and led to their Grammy win. They had never been signed to a record label and had never played at a big venue before, but that didn't stop them from creating music on their own. They wrote and arranged the song In the Highways in their family's living room, and it ended up becoming a hit. The Puzzle Sisters story is not unlike that of Tatum O'Neal, who won an Oscar at the young age of 10 for her role in Paper Moon. Tatum's win made her the youngest Oscar winner of all time. Both the sisters and Tatum had to work hard to achieve their dreams, and their young age did not stop them from making it to the top. Number 12. Tom the Skater. Tom was a 12-year-old teenager from the United States when he took the skateboarding world by storm with his blatant athletic performance. But Tom's not just any ordinary skater, he's even succeeded in outshining the legendary and most iconic skater, Tony Hawk. You see, Tom was the very first person to ever succeed as a teenager to complete a 1080 on the halfpipe. This trick was considered the holy grail of skateboarding at the time, and for a 12-year-old to master it, it was nothing short of extraordinary. Tom's incredible achievement quickly made him a legend in the skateboarding community, but he didn't stop there. He would go on to perform the trick 6 more times, winning numerous competitions along the way. Fast forward to today, and Tom is 22 years old and is still going strong. He takes part in numerous professional contests like the X Games and is still celebrated for his awesome skills. In a recent interview with the skating legend, he was quoted as saying, "I've always loved the thrill of skateboarding. When I first learned about the triple spin, I knew I had to master it. It took me months of hard work and practice, but I finally did it. It was an incredible feeling, and I knew then that I wanted to pursue this as a career." Number 11. Malala Yousafzai. Meet Malala Yousafzai, an extraordinary young woman who's a force to be reckoned with and who has made history at just 17 years old. When she was just 11 years old, she began speaking out for girls' rights to education in her native Pakistan. She wrote a blog for the BBC under a pseudonym, detailing her life under Taliban rule and the importance of education for girls, but her activism didn't go unnoticed by the Taliban. In October of 2012, they attempted to assassinate her by shooting her in the head on her way home from school. Miraculously, she would survive and was able to recover from her injuries. But instead of being intimidated by the attack, she simply used it as a catalyst for her activism. At just 15 years old, she became a leading advocate for women's rights worldwide, and in 2014, she would be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, making her the youngest recipient ever. This prestigious award had been previously granted to the likes of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and Mother Teresa. Malala's story is one of courage, determination, and resilience. She's shown the world that no matter how young you are, you can make a difference. She continues to speak out and fight for girls' education and women's rights, proving that one person can truly change the world. Number 10. Herbert Chaplinsky. At just 15 years old, Herbert had already achieved something incredible. He became the strongest teenager in the world by lifting a staggering 230 kilos on the weight bench. But it's not only his strength that's impressive, it's the journey that led him to this achievement. Herbert discovered his passion for weightlifting at the age of 10 years old, and ever since then had been working hard to improve. He began with simple exercises like push-ups and gradually built up to lifting heavier weights. His hard work and dedication paid off in a big way when he participated in a weightlifting competition in Paul Beats, USA. Out of 900 participants between the ages of 13 and 19 years old, Herbert emerged victorious and won the coveted title of the strongest teenager in the world. But it's not all about lifting heavy weights for Herbert. His family and father, who also serves as his trainer, make sure that Herbert doesn't overdo it and potentially damage his body permanently. He knows that at that age, it's important to be cautious and not to push it too hard. Number 9. Benedict IX. Benedict IX was crowned as the Pope in 1032 at the young age of 14 years old. Some historians even speculate that he may have been as young as 10 or 12 at the time of his appointment, as records from that period were not always accurate. But why was a child chosen to lead the Catholic Church? It all comes down to life expectancies in the medieval era. At just 14 years old, Benedict was already considered an adult, and with life expectancies being much shorter in those days, it was not uncommon for young men to be appointed to positions of power. Benedict went on to hold the position of Pope for a full 16 years before then resigning at the age of 30, and then passed away 7 years later at the age of 37. While that may seem young to us now, in the Middle Ages it was considered an average age to pass away. Despite his young age, though, Benedict made a significant impact during his time as Pope. He fought to maintain the power of the papacy during a time when it was being threatened by the Holy Roman Empire, and he's credited with helping to shape the Catholic Church as we know it today. Number 8. Louis Braille. Louis Braille was born in France in January of 1809, but his life took a drastic turn at the age of 3 when he accidentally poked his eye with a tool while playing in his father's workshop. This led to an infection, that would eventually cause him to lose his sight. But Louis was determined not to let his blindness hold him back. He attended a school for the blind in Paris, where he quickly realized that the only way for him to read was through a system of raised letters known as night writing. This system, however, was too complex for the average person to use, and that's when Louis had an epiphany at the age of 15. He remembered a story that a soldier had told him once about a code that was used on the battlefield consisting of raised dots and dashes. Louis then decided to adapt this code for reading, and thus the Braille system was born. Louis worked tirelessly to perfect the system, and at the age of 20 he published his first book on the Braille system. This was a major breakthrough for the blind community, as it gave them the ability to read and write for the first time. However, Louis did not stop there. He continued to improve upon his invention by adding mathematical and musical symbols to Braille. This would make it possible for blind individuals to not only read and write, but also to study math and music. Louis Braille's invention has changed the lives of millions of blind individuals around the world. It's an incredible example of how one person's determination and creativity can make a huge impact on society. Number 7. Isaac Johnson. Upon first glance, Isaac Johnson may seem like a typical Minnesota teenager, but as soon as he opens his mouth, it quickly becomes clear that this boy has an extremely unusual anatomy. Isaac Johnson holds the record for having the absolute biggest mouth in the entire world. The span from his gums to his lower lip measures an unbelievable 4 inches, or the equivalent of about 10 centimeters. This makes it easy for him to put a soda can or even a baseball all the way into his mouth. And not only that, but Isaac can also bite off not just 1, but 4 cheeseburgers at the same time. And surprisingly, he's still growing, so you can only assume that his mouth isn't fully grown yet. As a child, Isaac had a hard time fitting his mouth around the toothbrush, but as he grew older, he learned to adapt and make the most of his big mouth. He now uses a larger toothbrush and flosses his teeth with ease. Isaac's unique feature has made him a bit of a local celebrity as well, with people flocking to see him open his mouth in awe. But Isaac doesn't let it get to his head and is still the humble and down-to-earth teenager that he's always been. His unique feature has not only made him a local celebrity, but it's also opened up a world of possibilities for him. As a result of his big mouth, Isaac has become an ambassador for oral hygiene, encouraging people to take care of their teeth and gums and to visit the dentist on a regular basis. His mouth is truly a marvel of nature, and it's not every day that you come across someone with such an extraordinary feature. Isaac's unique mouth has given him a place in the Guinness Book of World Records, and he's certainly one of a kind. Number 6. Winter Wee Nike. Winter Wee Nike is not your regular teenager. She achieved something truly remarkable at just the age of 14 years old. Originally from Michigan, Winter set out to complete 7 marathons on all 7 continents, and in November of 2013, she achieved that goal by successfully finishing a marathon in Athens. However, Winter's journey to becoming the youngest person to complete 7 marathons on all 7 continents did not come easy. She had to train for months, pushing herself to new limits and overcoming obstacles along the way. Her determination and hard work paid off, though, as she successfully completed each marathon one by one. Her first marathon was in her home state of Michigan, where she ran the Detroit Free Press International Marathon, and from there she would travel to Kenya to take part in the Safaricom Marathon, where she faced the challenge of running at high altitudes. Next, she would head to Mongolia for the Gobi Desert Marathon, where she had to contend with the harsh desert conditions, and then it was off to Peru for the Inca Trail Marathon, where she had to run at high altitudes once again and navigate challenging terrain of the Inca Trail. After Peru, she then traveled to New Zealand for the Kepler Marathon, where she faced the challenge of running in the rain and strong winds, but it would be her last marathon that proved to be the most difficult. The Antarctica Ice Marathon, where she had to run in temperatures as low as minus 20 degrees. Winter's journey was not only about running marathons, though. She was also running for a cause that was close to her heart: her father, who was terminally ill with prostate cancer. She wanted to raise awareness about the disease and also inspire others to take action. Number 5. Lila Gebhardt. Lila Gebhardt holds the Guinness Book World Record for the longest hair since 2008. She set this unbelievable record as a teenager with a length of 170 centimeters, but she didn't stop there. A few days before she turned 18, she had her hair measured again, and this time while it was wet, which added a few extra centimeters to its length. The final measurement was an astounding 2 meters long. But Lila's journey was not so easy. Maintaining such long hair does require a lot of care and dedication. She's had to wash and comb her hair on a weekly basis, with the help of her mother, who has supported her throughout the entire process. But despite the challenges, Lila persevered and held on to her record for 12 years. Her hair journey was not only about setting the record, but also about proving that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. Lila says that growing her hair took a lot of patience and perseverance, but it was also a form of self-expression for her. As her hair would grow longer, she faced many challenges. For context, she had to take extra care to ensure that her hair would not get tangled or damaged. She would often use a mixture of oils and herbs to keep her hair healthy and strong. But as she reached adulthood, she then decided that it was time for a change. She made the difficult decision to cut her hair, much to the dismay of her mother. However, she knew that it was the right thing to do, and in a truly generous move, she donated her braids to the Ripley Record Museum, where visitors can now admire her long and incredible head of hair. Number 3. Laura Decker. At the age of 14 years old, Laura became the youngest person in history to sail around the world solo. Her passion for sailing began at a very young age, and she was only 13 years old when she first announced her plans to circumnavigate the globe. However, her dream was met with much resistance from the Dutch government, which felt that she was too young and inexperienced to undertake such a journey. But she was determined and did not let that set her back. In August of 2010, at the age of 14, she set off on her journey aboard her two-masted ketch sailboat named Guppy. The journey was not an easy one, and she faced many challenges along the way, from dealing with storms and rough seas to having to put up with isolation and homesickness. She had to be incredibly resilient to make it through the journey. But she did it, and after 2 years and 27,000 miles, she successfully circumnavigated the globe. Her journey was documented in the 2013 documentary Maiden Trip, which gave viewers a glimpse into the life of a teenage sailor. One of the most difficult challenges that she faced was dealing with the isolation. Being alone on the open sea for months at a time can take a toll on anyone, but Laura was able to cope by keeping a diary, reading books, and staying in touch with her family and friends via satellite phone. Laura's journey was not only a physical accomplishment but also a mental one. She proved that with determination and hard work, anything is possible. Her story is an inspiration to people of all ages and just goes to show that no dream is too big, no matter what your age may be. Number 2. Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer was born in Chicago in 1943 and quickly showed a prodigious talent for the game of chess. By the age of 14, he had already won the United States Junior Chess Championship, but it was the following year, in 1958, that he truly made history. At just 15 years old, Bobby won the United States Chess Championship, becoming the youngest ever winner of that tournament. But his accomplishments did not stop there. In 1966, he added best-selling author to his resume with the book Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess. The book was a huge success and helped to introduce the game of chess to a whole new generation of players. He then went on to write several other books about chess in later years, cementing his reputation as one of the greatest chess players and educators of all time. But it's not just Bobby's achievements on the chessboard that made him so famous. He was also known for an eccentric and often controversial behavior. He was known to be fiercely competitive and would often make bold and outrageous statements to the press. This, combined with his incredible talent, made him one of the most captivating figures in the chess world. Despite his many accomplishments and accolades, his life was not without its challenges. He had a tumultuous relationship with the United States Chess Federation and eventually retired from the game in 1975. He then returned in the early 90s, but by then he had become a much different person, and his comeback was not as successful as many had hoped. Bobby Fischer then passed away in 2008, but his legacy lives on. He remains one of the most recognizable and celebrated names in the world of chess, and his contributions to the game will be remembered for generations to come. Number 1. Nick D'Alessio. Before we dive into the details of Nick D'Alosio's incredible story, let's take a step back and see how it all began. His passion for technology and entrepreneurship began at a young age. He was just 12 years old when he began teaching himself how to code. By the time that he was 15, he had already developed his first app. He was also a self-taught natural language processing expert and had a deep understanding of the technology that powered his powerful app, Sumly. Before developing Sumly, he had created several other apps, but none of them had taken off. He had also been rejected by multiple venture capitalists before finally getting the backing that he needed. Then, at the age of 15 years old, the brilliant lad received a round of venture capital in technology from a billionaire. This would make him the youngest person to ever receive this kind of investment in the tech industry. Fast forward 2 years, and he had developed an app that was changing the way that we consume news. Sumly condensed news stories into short summaries, making it easy for people to stay informed on the go. This innovative idea would catch the attention of Yahoo, who saw the potential in the app and decided to acquire it in 2013. But the real shocker came when the acquisition was announced, and the price tag was $30 million. That's right, a 17-year-old had just sold his app for $30 million. This made him one of the youngest entrepreneurs to ever make such a huge deal, and after selling it to Yahoo, he didn't just rest on his laurels. He then continued to work with the company and helped to develop the Yahoo News Digest app. He also used some of the money from the sale to begin his own venture capital firm, which helps to fund and mentor young entrepreneurs. His story is a testament to the power of perseverance and the importance of following your passions. And at just 17 years old, he had already achieved what many entrepreneurs could only dream of. He continues to be a role model for young entrepreneurs and a shining example of how anyone can achieve success with hard work and determination. Which of these incredible feats did you find the most intriguing? Be sure to let me know your answers in the comments down below.